I think we'll go ahead and get started. This is a meeting of the Regional Planning Commission for January 22nd, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk or the secretary please call the roll?
Diane Marlin.
Here.
Deb Frank Finan.
Here.
Joan Dykstra.
Here.
Charles Smith.
Here.
Tammy Fruling Vogus.
Present.
Patrick Brown.
Here.
Dennis Roberts. Kyle Patterson.
Here.
Steve Summers. Jim Goss.
Here.
Will Kyles.
Here.
Katina Wilcher.
I'm here.
And Anna Olin.
Here.
Thank you.
Great. I'm just for the record, I'm Diane Marlin, and the chair for the RPC board has revolved to me for this year. So I want to thank Joan for her service last year, and I hope to follow in her footsteps. Can we have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved. Katina Wilcher.
Moved by Katina. Who was the second? Deb Finan. Are there any corrections? Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
Diane Marlin.
Yes.
Deb Frank Finan.
Yes.
Joan Dykstra.
Yes.
Charles Smith.
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus.
Yes.
Patrick Brown.
Yes.
Dennis Roberts. Kyle Patterson.
Yes.
Steve Summers. Jim Goss.
Yes.
Will Kyles.
Yes.
Katina Wilcher.
Yes.
And Anna Olin.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is audience participation. A reminder that audience participation is limited to 5 minutes per speaker, and public participation is limited to a total of 20 minutes. Does anyone wish to address the Regional Planning Commission board? And I don't have the part, let's see. Let me check. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing anyone. Do you, Rita?
No, there is a Variant Covenant Church, but I believe that's Mr. Will Kyles,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, then that's I switched the count, so that's that should be inactive.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
Then
Okay.
we don't have any person
Okay.
from the public.
There's no audience participation. Next up is approval of the minutes for November 20th, 2020. Do I hear a motion to approve the RPC draft meeting minutes for the 22nd of November?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Joan. Second,
I'll second it.
seconded by Deb Finan. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Any discussion? Okay, will you please call the roll?
Diane Marlin.
Yes.
Deb Frank Finan.
Yes.
Joan Dykstra.
Yes.
Charles Smith.
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus.
Yes.
Patrick Brown.
Yes.
Love you. Thank you.
Dennis Roberts. Kyle Patterson.
Yes.
Steve Summers. Jim Goss.
Yes.
Will Kyles.
Yes.
Katina Wilcher.
Yes.
And Anna Olin.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion carries. Next up is the consolidated financial reports from Betty Murphy for November 30th and December 31st.
Good morning. So
Morning.
you have the November 2020 financial statement. Our fund balance at that point was just over $10 million. And at December, slightly higher at 10.8. For both periods, our receivables were a little over 1.1 million, which is typical for this time of year and particularly during the pandemic, but all fund balances continue to remain healthy.
Any questions for Betty? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Can we get a motion to get this on the floor?
So moved. Katina.
Katina,
Second, Chuck Smith.
moved by Katina, seconded by Chuck Smith. Is there any discussion? Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Diane Marlin,
Yes.
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown, Dennis
Yes.
Roberts, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles, Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
and Anna Olwing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That motion carries. Next up is a list of bills. Betty?
Sure. So the volume of bill processing that you have is significant, given the level of client services that we've continued to maintain during the pandemic, particularly with regard to LIHEAP, utilities, and emergency rental assistance. All charges are appropriate and there is nothing unusual to report.
Any questions for Betty on the bills? Okay. I did have a question about the LIHEAP. Are people utilizing everything that's available, or are we having issues with getting that money out the door?
I'll ask Lisa to address that issue.
Sure. We are steadily seeing clients with regard to the number of clients. You know, through the pandemic, have seen a significant increase. Proportionally, we are still seeing that increase. So oftentimes during this time of the year, we do see lower numbers. So we are seeing lower numbers, but proportionately. So they're higher than last year, but lower than what they've been just recently with the pandemic. We still do have funds because we have a large amount of funding with increased dollars with CARES. So we are still steadily receiving applications.
Great. Okay, any other, let's see, I guess I need a motion to accept and place on file the list of bills.
So moved.
Second.
Dykstra.
Was that Jim who moved?
Yes.
Okay, moved by Jim Goss, seconded by Joan. Any discussion? All right, will you please call the roll?
Diane Marlin,
Yes.
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown,
Yes.
Dennis Roberts, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
and Anna Olwing.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion passes. Next item is an action item on the agenda. It's approval of the fiscal year 21 budget amendment for emergency education relief. Betty?
Sure. So this is a budget amendment added to our FY21 budget, and it reflects federal pass-through CARES funding to our program. This is awarded to one-time programs that are awarded to programs that are identified as disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. This one-time award in the amount of $29,092 will allow us to provide appropriately hands-on home learning materials that'll provide our parents with the support they need to continue to advance remote learning. The funds will also be utilized to purchase additional PPEs for our children and staff and for those that are engaged in center-based learning. So I request approval for receipt of these new funds.
Any questions for Betty? Okay, seeing none, could I get a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved, Katina.
I heard Deb Finan and Katina Wilcher.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Any
can second it.
Yeah, okay. Deb moved, seconded by Katina. Any discussion? All right, can we please have a roll call?
Diane Marlin,
Yes.
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown,
Yes.
Dennis Roberts, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes,
and Anna Olween.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion passes. Next item is approval of the FY21 budget amendment for diversion case management.
Sure. So this budget amendment for FY21 reflects the receipt of a contract in the amount of $40,000 from the United Way of Champaign County. This will allow us to have a part-time diversion case manager located at our emergency family shelter. This initiative will help us assist families seeking that emergency shelter with identifying support systems and securing alternative permanent housing. So I request your approval for this addition to our FY21 budget.
Any
So moved.
questions? Any questions
sorry.
on this one? Okay.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say that that is a much needed and appropriate addition.
Okay, we get a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Katina, seconded by, was that Kyle?
Yep.
I'm not Kyle, Will. Sorry, Kyle.
We had that on council for a while. We had Kyle Harrison and Will Kiles, and it was awful. I mean, it was great to have them both, but hard to call out.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, yes, I have. So this is brand new. And are we inclined to think that this will now continue? Having it 1 year and not having it continue would be a shame. And so my question is, what are the chances that this is now going to be an ongoing funding source and a personnel addition? Good one, a good one.
Mhm.
Would you like me to respond, Betty?
Yes.
Okay. This is a pilot initiative through Women United at this point. You know, the new nuance to this is we are actually, when they approved this funding, we were going to hire
Could people please mute yourself if you're not speaking?
Sorry. We were going to hire a part-time position specifically for this. We've had a staff resignation, so we're actually evaluating the ability to build this into a full-time position, and hopefully that will lend to the ability to maintain it potentially regardless of continued funding. United Way and the Women United have definitely been supportive and continue to support the work done through the emergency shelter for families. There is no guarantee for continued funding, but if it proves to be fruitful, we anticipate that we would be able to secure funding to continue the service.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Will you please call the roll?
Diane Marlin,
Yes.
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Bogus, Patrick Brown,
Yes.
Dennis Roberts, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
and Anna Olwing.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion carries. Next item is approval of the FY21 budget amendment for Healthy Homes Weatherization.
Sure.
this-
So this is an additional amendment that will accommodate a new contract from the university to coordinate the installation measures identified by a Healthy Homes evaluation. This would include ventilation fans, smoke and CO alarms, roof repair or replacement, insulation, outdoor light fixtures, lock sets and deadbolts, window and furnace replacements, and air sealing. This grant will allow installation of these items at an estimated cost of $10,000 per home. So I request your approval for this addition to our FY21 budget.
Any questions for Betty? Joan?
Who exactly does the inspections? The University of Illinois coordinated, who does the firefighters or zoning or?
Lisa?
Sure. This is a collaboration with the University of Illinois, the Illinois Climate ICRT. I'm trying to think what the R stands for. Training Center, essentially. They have Healthy Home Evaluators. It's a certification, and they would actually do the inspections and then work collaboratively with our weatherization team, utilizing our contractors to do the installation measures. We do have, I believe, one Healthy Home Evaluator on our staff, and we would continue to grow that. And, we would look to hopefully be also evaluators within the project. But currently, the identified Healthy Home evaluations would be conducted by the ICRT staff from the University of Illinois.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Could we get a motion for approval?
So moved. Dykstra.
Second, Smith.
Moved by Joan, seconded by Chuck Smith. Any further discussion? Okay, will the please call the roll?
Diane Marlin,
Yes.
Kathleen Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Bogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown,
Yes.
Dennis Roberts, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
and Anna Olwing.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion passes. Next up is approval of the FY, should that be 21?
Oh, this is actually FY20.
Okay,
We haven't yet closed out FY20. We
Okay.
still have a period of time here. So this budget amendment is for Workforce Formula One grant. When this WIOLA formula grants are awarded on a biannual July through June basis. And so those are 2-year formula grants that are overlapping. So when this initial formula grant was budgeted back in July of 19, it was estimated based on our historical funding. Since that time, we received an additional 1.2 million provided by the U.S. Department of Labor to provide expanded services and to meet the demand in our area, which now includes Douglas County. So because of that increased demand, we have to pay our qualified subrecipients, and those include Parkland College, Cunningham Children's Home, principal scholars at the university, they incurred expenses at the latter part of FY20. So this amendment will allow us to comply with our best accounting practices, which is to apply those expenditures in the county fiscal year in which they were incurred. The associated revenue is ready for drawdown from the Department of Commerce. So I request your approval for this modification to FY20, the prior year budget.
Any questions on this one? Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is that Tammy?
Tina.
Tina? Is there a second?
I'll second it. That's Tammy.
Okay. Moved by Katina, seconded by Tammy. Any further discussion? We have a roll call, please.
Diane Marlin,
Yes.
Deb Frank Finan, Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown,
Yes.
Dennis Roberts,
Yes.
Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
and Anna Olween.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion passes. Item E is approval of equipment purchase.
Sure. So as the commissioners may recall, we received a little over $585,000 in one-time CARES funding for our Head Start and our early Head Start grants to support, responsive activities during the COVID-19 pandemic. We've utilized many of these funds to provide comprehensive student and staff safety items, including PPEs, customized barriers, plexiglass barriers, and also to provide remote learning materials and innovative teaching strategies for our families that prefer to continue to work from home and have remote learning as opposed to center-based. So we would like to also utilize a portion of this one-time CARES funding for the purchase of 3 buses and a cargo van. These buses will allow us to transport an additional 48 children to our centers. Under current COVID restrictions, we are allowed to transport only 10 children per bus. It takes 2 buses and dual trips to transport these children to 1 classroom. So as our center-based enrollment continues to increase to 18, this will allow us to have increased capacity and for an additional 8 children in the classroom and a more reliable infrastructure for long-term service delivery. Our existing fleet is aging, and there have been no federal funds to support the purchase of replacement buses for at least the last decade. We'd also like to purchase a cargo van. This will allow us to transport classroom supplies, health and safety equipment, and food to our sites, as well as to our family child care providers and our remote learning families. This will allow us to more efficiently provide support and access to our remote learners and their families. Both purchases will allow us to respond and recover from the impacts of COVID-19. The bus purchase would be under the state of Illinois contract. The total for 3 buses would be $188,823, and the cargo van would be purchased under the federal contract under the National Auto Fleet Group in the amount of $32,018.58. So I request your approval for these equipment purchases.
Any questions on these? Okay, could I get a motion for approval?
So moved, Mayor Smith.
Is there a second?
Second.
Anna.
Go ahead. Anna.
Let her
Go ahead.
have it.
Who was that?
Go ahead.
Anna? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Diane Marlin,
Yes.
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown,
Sorry, yes.
Dennis Roberts, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
and Anna Olween.
Yes.
Thank you.
That motion passes. Next up is approval of Head Start, Early Head Start, and EHS expansion waivers.
So because of the direct results of the impacts of COVID-19, our program has taken a number of steps to respond to that pandemic. And the CARES Act provided our supplemental funding to support this kind of hybrid programming that we're in now with limited in-person and innovative virtual learning platforms. The Head Start Act also gives us several funding and administrative flexibilities during this pandemic. And so we're requesting waivers for the program year 2021 and program year 21-22 for our Head Start, Early Head Start, and our Early Head Start expansion grants for 3 areas. The first is a waiver of the 20% non-federal share based on emergency or disaster because other organizations and individuals have been unable to provide the usual contributions to our program. We will continue to aggressively secure non-federal share, but these are extraordinary circumstances, and we want to make sure we have the approved waiver in place by the regional office in the event that we don't meet the full 20%. The second thing that is allowed, the Head Start allows a waiver of the 15% administrative cost limitation as the pandemic has caused additional program management attention, and we continue to need that to respond to the COVID-19 outbreak. We anticipate limiting our administrative costs to less than 20% of the federal share. This just gives the opportunity in the event that we do go over the 15%. And finally, we request a waiver of a portion of the 10% disability requirement in the current program year of 15 out of 67. We did serve 52 children with disabilities, so we need the 15 for the waiver. We will continue to aggressively secure disability enrollments during the subsequent year. But given the uncertainty and the timeline for when we can return to full center-based programming, these waivers allow us some administrative flexibility for the current year and the subsequent program year that begins March 1st.
Any questions for Betty? Could we get a motion, please?
So moved.
Is that Katina?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved by Katina, seconded by Deb. Further discussion? I've been advised that the chair should be called last in the vote. So when we do the roll call, can you please call me last?
I will. Thank you for that information.
Thank you.
Okay.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Bogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown,
Yes.
Dennis Roberts, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
and Anna Olguin, and Mayor Marlin.
Yes,
Thank
that
you.
motion passes. And last item in this section is approval of the RPC Commissioners 2021 yearly meeting calendar. Delitzo.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Included in the packet is the proposed RPC meeting calendar for 2021. We're seeking your approval. Clearly, we will revise the location for the meeting as indicated at the beginning of the meeting.
Any questions on this proposed calendar? All right. Could we have a motion to approve the calendar?
So moved, Mayor Smith.
Second, Jim Goss.
Moved by Chuck Smith, seconded by Jim Goss. Any discussion? Can we please have a roll call?
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Bogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown, Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
Anna E. Olween,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes. All righty. Next up are the management reports for Head Start and Early Head Start for October and November 2020. Brandy?
Brandy's not able to make the meeting this morning. I believe she requests that they be reviewed and placed on file.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the management reports, including the financial and service area reports?
So moved. Dykstra.
Second.
Moved by Joan, seconded by Deb. Any discussion? Okay. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts.
I won't vote on this one because I'm just arriving. I pass.
Okay, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yes.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
Anna Olween,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes. And let the record reflect that Dennis Roberts has arrived to the meeting. Next up are program division updates. Betty?
Sure. So Baker Tilly, the independent auditors for the county, they've completed all field work and testing at the RPC at the end of December. They chose LIHEAP and our Head Start programs as the major federal programs. As far as I know, they've not indicated any issues of compliance, and we are expecting receipt of the 2019 audit in late May. We are preparing for several, for the Head Start Focus Group 1 virtual monitoring visit, as well as a monitoring of our workforce program in early March. We've prepared an RFP template to solicit rural youth providers in our workforce development division, and that will be posted beginning on Monday. And so we're hoping that we can get additional youth providers in our 4 rural counties for workforce. And finally, we are participating in the customized design of the new Tyler Technologies ERP accounting system and human capital management systems. And that's it. Thank you.
Any questions for Betty? Okay. Next up is HR. Is Becky? Becky's here. Hi, Becky.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. The Human Resources Report included in your packet today represents personnel transactions from November 2nd, 2020 through January 9th, 2021. RPC currently has 419 active employees, which includes 99 work experience participants. The Human Resources Department has been focused on several staffing strategies to attract, motivate, and retain qualified staff amongst the challenges presented by COVID-19. The management team is working strategically to fill 22 positions as soon as possible, which includes several new positions for our Community Services Division that has recently been awarded new grants. To support the growth of RPC, we recently hired an additional human resources generalist. Shelby Charleston worked at RPC as an intern over the last 3 years and accepted a full-time position with our team. We are very excited to have Shelby on board. Beginning on January 4th, 2021, the Human Resources Information System implementation meetings began with Munis, where we are identifying specific data and field functionality necessary for a smooth transition scheduled for approximately September 2021. The HR and fiscal teams recently met with Mindy Smith with the Youth Employment Services Summer Youth Program to develop a merit award program that will begin prior to the Summer Youth Employment Program this year. The merit awards will be issued to students completing various job readiness projects like resume development, practicing interview skills, and enhancing verbal and written communication. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the HR team has been processing several unemployment claims, many that have been submitted fraudulently, unfortunately. Out of the 43 unemployment claims, we have processed 11 fraudulent claims. We are working with employees to ensure they are aware of the potential fraudulent claims and directing them to IDES for support to ensure the benefits are not inappropriately awarded. There are positive trends related to the pandemic. Our workers' compensation claims have decreased since 2018. In 2018, we had $52,000 in claims, $72,000 in claims in 2019, and ended 2020 with $2,000 in claims, which is honestly unheard of. Most of the claims in heavy years are related to trips and falls. Our goal is to reduce workplace incidents and workers' compensation claims by 10% this year. We can achieve this goal by continuing to create awareness of our goals, enhancing our training programs, and gaining engagement and buy-in from our staff. And finally, another positive trend to report in our turnover. Our turnover is trending downward. The agency turnover is down about 5%, and the turnover for early childhood is down 11%, which is great. The HR team will be working with division directors to develop strategies to continue to reduce turnover by 5% over the next year. I'd be happy to answer any questions today.
Any questions for Becky? Okay. Do we move on to the next update? Thank you, Becky. Next up is Lisa Benson, Community Services Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. So let's see, I'm going to summarize some things that are going on in my division. We are undertaking, it was referenced that we have some different grant opportunities that we've been awarded, and we've been working on extending our staff or increasing our staff. We have the Justice Initiative, where we will be working with the Champaign County Sheriff's Office to provide diversionary services and help those that have police contact in supporting them to meet their social service needs. We have been doing focused and creative outreach to make sure that we are engaging the community and the resources that we have to assist them through the COVID pandemic. That's included commercials that have intentional marketing to encourage them to not wait until these eviction moratoriums lift and to come in and receive the services. We've been doing direct mailings to households that have overdue utilities and just really trying all that we can to make sure that the public is aware of the services that we have to offer. Through the CSBG CARES COVID Relief Fund, through December, we've served 432 individuals. We, 11 days ago, became aware of the Department of Treasury Emergency Rent Assistance opportunity that will be specifically, there'll be funds specifically awarded to Champaign County rather than just a statewide allocation. 10 days ago, we did apply for that opportunity, and as of Tuesday, we received the funds. We are currently designing the program and working towards securing staff to deliver the program. Tentative launch date, again, tentative once we get everything lined up and in order, we hope to be Friday, February 26th. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have related to the work that we're doing in community services.
There are questions for Lisa.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to shout Lisa and her team out for being incredibly responsive to the needs of our families in the Champaign and Urbana community. I've had the opportunity to work closely with them on behalf of both Champaign and some Urbana students, and they have just been phenomenal in terms of their resources and just their wealth of knowledge and being able to advise us accordingly. And so I just want to shout Lisa and her team out. They have just been exceedingly helpful and just phenomenal. And I'm just so grateful to you for the work that you do in our community. So thank you for your leadership and the work that you do.
Thank you, Katina.
Any other comments or questions? I do have a question, Lisa. And I talked with Delitzo about this earlier in the week. It's been frustrating for some of the local landlords who I've talked to. They are trying to encourage their tenants to apply for this assistance, but the tenants, for several reasons, don't follow through, can't follow through. They believe they're protected currently, and they are, by the eviction moratorium. But eventually that may end and they're going to be faced with some significant back rent. But they're having a lot of trouble just convincing people that this money, and these are people who would be eligible for the money. So when you get this new grant, the emergency rent assistance on the 26th, are there other plans or expanded plans for outreach to people to convince people to trust enough to apply for the money?
Yes. So again, what we talked about, or what I talked about with some of the creative marketing, one thing that we will be doing a little bit differently, I anticipate that we will be doing different with the new funds. We will be doing in-person screenings and intakes. What we found and what we've seen, and we're hearing also from our partners across Champaign County that also do similar work, our constituents have a really hard time navigating and getting the required documentation. So we are trying to bare bone as much as we can what is required to meet the funders' requirements. So balancing that, and then also having staff in person that can assist and support them in obtaining the information. So we intend to do a little bit different, you know, especially as things are opening a little bit with the pandemic. We did this with our LIHEAP team. We've had in-person appointments. We have taken the necessary precautions and been doing quite well with that. So we believe that this will be helpful going into the next program that we're going to be launching with this ERA.
Are they still expecting folks to come to Brookings to apply rather than any outreach in the neighborhoods? And I know with the pandemic, it's just, you know, there's a lot of barriers to that, but.
We're in design mode right now.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Great. Thank you so much. This is great news in terms of getting this assistance. Rita, Planning and Community Development.
Oh, good morning, everyone. As in the past, I'm going to start with the census just to provide some dates because many of you have been asking questions about the census. As far as we know, on January 19, the Census Bureau released some product to some states related to redistricting efforts. We know that little by little, they will be releasing that information so that states and local agencies can start working on redistricting. They promised that by February 28th, all those products will be available to all the states. Regarding state population counts, they are promising to have those counts available by March 6th. However, the full set of 2020 counts are expected to be released by July 31st, 2021. Then it will not be until summer that we'll really know the population at the local level in detail. That's the latest that I have heard from the census. We as a staff have been working with DCO on reaching out to the small communities. regarding the availability of cure funds. We'll learn that there are several small communities as well as some agencies in Champaign County that haven't used the funding that they have available from the state for cure funding. We send emails to all these small communities and agencies, letting them know that they have cure funding available from the CARES Act. Some of them have replied back to us, like the county health department telling us that they are not using the funding, and some of them are proceeding on contacting the CEO to make use of those funds. Just we want you to know that this is going on. We have been working with those small communities. This is particularly important for Savoy. The infra grants are open again. The due date is March 5th. I already contacted the village manager of Savoy and the public works director of Savoy, just in case they want to apply for the Curtis Road underpass. The program has the same guidelines as in the past. And just for everyone to know, the infra grants are out again. They are due on March 5th. And I also want to make you aware that we completed all these projects in 2020, and except for the Census 2020, all these other documents are available on the website. And the other one that is not available on the website is the technical services that we provided to the Danville Sanitary District on developing the open source GIS for them. But for all the other ones, all those documents are available on the RPC website. And in 2021, we just started all these new projects, and staff is working on developing those projects for the next 2 years. If you have any questions, please let me know. That's my update for planning and community development at this time.
Thank you, Rita. Any questions for Rita?
Yes,
John?
Yes, not a question, but going back to the infra, I'm working on, we don't want to give up on it, and let's try it again. So I really thank each one of you for in your organization, if you have helped us write support letters and submitted those. So I'll be hitting you up again in the next several weeks for a new support letter. So I can't thank you enough. When I see all those support letters in the back of the infra grant submittal, it just, just warms my heart. And I just thank you so much for doing that. So to each one of the entities that have helped us in the past, we'll be asking again. So get the last infra grant out, or letter out. So thank you so much.
Any other comments or questions? Well, John, we've got to get that railroad fixed so I'm not stopped on the tracks when I go visit my grandkids. So I have a very personal investment in this. Next up is Workforce Development Director, Justin Arnold. Is he here?
Yep, good morning.
Morning.
I have 3 topics that I'll cover real quick for an update. One is we had a kickoff this week between our 2 governing boards. The 2 boards for our local workforce area are the chief elected officials, and then a local innovation board that's made up primarily of industry representatives, but also has some community organizations. Those 2 boards got together to talk to each other and share ideas, have some training, and then talk about how to be proactive in 2021. And there is a pretty strong agenda set to engage with industry, develop talent pipeline management strategies, increase apprenticeships, diversify career pathways. So I think it was a pretty strong kickoff meeting, and I'm looking forward to what we can do with those boards in 2021. The second update I wanted to give is on a project we've been working on with Dennis. And the reason I'm giving this update is because I want everyone on the board to know how RPC can work with you to respond to workforce needs in your community. Dennis came to us with a great idea about beautifying the city by replacing some bricks and engaging youth to work on that. That it would provide them with some skills in construction, but also a sense of community and civic engagement. He came to us with that idea, and we talked through it from a workforce development perspective. How does this fit into our core industries or sectors? Well, one of our main sectors is construction, as everyone knows. How does this fit in with our WIOA youth programs? It fits in by designing a program around providing job skills and work experiences, leadership and civic engagement. Where could this program lead? It could lead to an apprenticeship in construction. It could lead to a degree in construction at Parkland. It could lead to connections in the community. So we've been talking, and then the next step, so what would this project look like? And we're starting to narrow that down to a summer program that's a certain amount of hours with a trainer and with a real defined scope of work. And we're not all the way there yet, and it's been a couple-month process, but I think that the good news about it is if someone comes to us with an idea that has to do with workforce development, we're going to walk through the process with them and try and figure out how to help them achieve their goals if it makes sense within the WIOA guidelines. And so if anyone else has ideas or groups they want to tackle or industries they want to address, I wanted that to kind of be the start of a success story, so you knew that you could come to us and we could work with you on workforce development issues. And Dennis, just thanks for bringing that idea to us.
Oh yeah, could I mention that I really appreciate your receptiveness to the idea. It's a way of doing some work in our community that is probably not going to be funded very well for a couple of years now. It's overdue. It helps public safety and beautification of the neighborhoods. And it offers young people who are looking for ways to enter into the workforce, perhaps leading to apprenticeship, to get some training and perhaps a certificate. So you've been really receptive. We've worked with a couple other community partners. I haven't really talked about it to anybody because it's not exactly a completely signed off deal, but if this could be a model for future engagement in the community, I'm really happy to see it taking root and being supported by the RPC.
Thank you, Dennis. And I wanted to share it because the idea of local workforce areas is that you're responsive to the community. And I think that this is a testimony to that. And it's been a pleasure to work with you. And I want everyone to know that we're available to work with all of you and try and make an impact with youth and with adults and employers and workforce development. So thank you, Dennis. Last update quickly. As you all know, I've talked to you a couple times about being on the University of Illinois committee, the committees to address racism and social injustice in the Champaign area. That committee has several subcommittees that are focused on specific topics: community health, law enforcement, economic development. Me and 4 other people are chairing the subcommittee on workforce development. Through our initial meetings, we've inventoried the workforce development programs in Champaign. There's probably 20 plus. Parkland and RPC are obviously some of the more robust and have a leadership role. And then we've set priorities in workforce development around 3 things: job readiness skills, soft skills, job seeking skills, the ability to see yourself in a career, educational attainment, including high school graduation and pursuing post-secondary opportunities, barriers to employment, things like transportation and criminal records. So as priority areas in workforce development, we've identified job readiness skills, educational attainment, barriers to employment. The next step is to talk to the community about historic actions to address these priority areas in the Champaign area, and then come up with ideas for addressing them now and in the future. I bring this up to the committee that if you have ideas or opinions that you'd like to share, the next stage is to invite participation and to nominate participants to be a part of that discussion around historic efforts to address these priority areas and what could be done now in the future to address these areas in regard to social injustice and racism. So if you want to follow up with me, I'd be available. And if you want to participate in that discussion, I could nominate you. And that's where we're at in that committee. And
Hey, Justin,
that's
this
all
is
the
Will
updates I have.
Kiles.
Yes,
This
sir.
is Will Kiles. I would
Mhm.
love to participate and be nominated. I think it's an important conversation. And I like the fact that you talked about the existing programs. Too often in these discussions, we keep starting over. And because we keep starting over and over and over again, we never get anywhere because it's always, any conversation when it comes to race or workforce development, and particularly the Black community, always starts in the end. This is a great start. And because it's always a great start, that's one of the reasons why a lot of the things that you heard about earlier about people hesitant to do applications and stuff like that, it's like, why do I even bother with that stuff? Because I've tried it, I've heard it. And so I definitely like the direction that you talked about, and we look forward to participating in that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Kiles. Yes, I'll reach out to you, follow up with you, and get you involved. And I'm glad you like that direction. It made sense to me to say, let's not start over as a first resort. Let's look at what's currently happening. So it feels good to get some feedback that you feel like that was a good direction. I appreciate that. But I will follow up with you and make sure you are involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are all the updates I have. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Justin? Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to accept and place on file the division updates for fiscal, human resources, community services, planning and community development, and workforce development?
I'll make that motion, Dennis.
Moved by
Second.
Dennis,
Second, Chuck Smith.
seconded by Chuck. Any further discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Deb Frank Finan. Joan Dykstra.
Yes.
Charles Smith.
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus.
Yes.
Patrick Brown.
Yes.
Dennis Roberts.
Yes.
Kyle Patterson.
Yes.
Steve Summers. Jim Goss.
Yes.
Will Kiles.
Yes.
Katina Wilcher.
Yes.
Anna Olween.
Yes.
And Diane Marlin.
Yes,
Thank
that
you.
motion passes. Thank you very much. Next up is the management report. Delitza.
Good morning. In the interest of time, I will skip my report. I know we have had quite a robust agenda today, and we still have, or the commissioners still have some additional business to take care of. So I don't really have anything pressing to report. I think the work that we're doing here, the RPC, has clearly been reflected in the reports provided by the division directors. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to old business. Is there any old business? There's none listed. Under new business, we have a closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1 to consider the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, or performance of specific employees of the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission. So let's see, can you describe the process? We'll need to.
So I can move that we go into closed session if you need that motion, Diane.
I do. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Chuck Smith.
Okay. Any discussion?
Just one quick question. I think maybe for the first item, I'm not sure if the commissioners would like for the director of HR and myself to stay on the leave of absence, and then we'll get off for the rest of the discussion.
I actually think, and this is Deb Finan, I think that my suggestion would be that we meet as commissioners and discuss, and then you and Becky, well, probably just you can get back on. We do need Debbie to remain on to take notes of the meeting. Diane, does that work for you?
Yes.
And I've got the red line version of the contract, so I can go through that with commissioners so they know where we made the changes to the contract.
And I believe Rita was going to stay on to manage the meeting. Is that correct? You're
Yeah.
muted.
That's what I have been told, to stay to manage the meeting, to make sure that no one enters that shouldn't be entering the meeting.
Okay, are we, do we have a separate link for the closed session?
No, at this time, we didn't set it up, and that's why I'm going to stay to make sure that only the commissioners are part of the meeting.
Okay,
as
we
well
do
as-
have a member of the public that is present currently.
Yes, and I already told him that he has to be dismissed. If he doesn't remove himself, I'll remove himself. I remove him. I can do that.
Okay, but then when we go back into open session, how will he be notified that we're back in open session?
If he wants to be notified, he can send me an email and I can let him know.
Okay.
Is that acceptable to folks? So the plan is to go into closed session. Everyone who's not a commissioner or the necessary staff will be exiting the meeting. We'll need a roll call vote to go into closed session.
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra, Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown,
Yes.
Dennis Roberts,
Yes.
Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Steve Summers, Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles,
Yeah.
Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
Anna Olween,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes, that
Thank you.
motion passes.